Welcome back, people. Thank you for joining me again. It's countdown time, 7 days to go now, and we're counting down to the Health and Care Worker Visa 2022 in the UK. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the care worker role itself, the job. All right, what does it entail? But I want to say to you, this is my disclaimer. This is not a training video. I am not authorized to train you. We're having a chat with a yarn. Okay, have a seat next to me just like I would with my pals, with my family, and we'll talk about the job because I have done it, I know what it entails, and I want to explain certain things to you. So get your Zobo drink, your granata and chin chin, sit down with me, and let's just chat, okay? Right, stay tuned. So you will hear different terms used for this job. Care assistant, healthcare assistant, care worker, they're referring to the same thing. So basically, as the word implies, you will be assisting. So clearly you're assisting both the service user and of course the other members of your team in giving care. That's basically what it will be, just literally that word. But firstly, the job, all right? You'll be giving personal care mostly. This is what the job entails. You'll be assisting others in their daily living. You'll be giving support to people. You'll be supporting them to live their daily life, to carry out their daily living, as we say. That is what the job entails. That's the summary. But of course, you know that this will entail a lot of things for any human being. And if you think about yourself, your needs, so also the other person has the needs. So it's things like their nutrition, feeding. The nutrition is slightly different. So for those who have challenges, taking in food for themselves, taking in nutrition for themselves, be it the normal solids, the liquid form, whatever form it might be, you assist in that. It's things like the washing, getting dressed, mobility, helping them to get from one place to the other. And then for those of you in different settings, because there are different settings you'll be working in, those will be helping out with the shopping, with the cooking, with the cleaning, the everyday things that happen in someone's home. If you're in the care home setting, if you're in people's homes, service users' homes, going on errands, medication, assisting them with medication. So obviously you get trained by that employer of yours and they'll be told what your duties are. But fundamentally, for those in the clinical setting, so the hospitals, the care homes, the nursing homes, you will be assisting a lot. You'll be assisting the patients themselves, but also you'll be assisting your nurse. Usually you see some roles are just called simply nurse assistants. There's a reason why, because there's the nurse will be giving out medication, doing the things they have to do, changing dressings, wound care, etc. And you will assist in things like that. So to my next point, it's essential that you have certain qualities, your core values, the person specification. Who is that person that we expect to be a care worker, a good care worker? And firstly, you have to have passion for the job. You have to be the right person for the job. It's a vocation. All right, you hear that term. It's a vocation, and as such, you have to be willing to do the job. You have to be the right person for that job. You're not just looking for a job. You're actually somebody who has passion for care. This will be used a lot. You have to have compassion and empathy and be happy to help others. You see individuals. All right, you refer to people properly, respectfully, respecting their dignity, respecting their rights, their choice, their ability to make choices for themselves. You support. These are the things that a certain person who's willing to do all these things. You have to be flexible, communicate clearly, and once again, the word respect, communicate respectfully. I'll give you an example. There is something that there's a no. You must please try never to do here. Certain language. When I say language, I don't mean your Igbo language and Yoruba and Mandika and whatever. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the way you speak to people, your tone, even your intention, what you mean, the message you're trying to pass across to them. It needs to be appropriate. The language used needs to be appropriate for the person. Remember, this is adult and social care. Okay, this visa type is streamlined to that. So other service users and all, that's not what we're talking about today. This is adult and social care. Hence, being adults, you have to know what language you'll be using. So when it comes to certain things like, this is my example, incontinence pad is what it's called. Incontinence pad. Continence means you're able to toilet as anyone else would. Normally it functions normally. You are able to go to the toilet and you're able to eliminate by yourself. The brain sends the message and the body works as it should. The anatomy works in a certain way. The physiology happens. You eliminate by yourself, okay? However, because of ill health, trauma, whatever it might be, certain people are not able to do that, so they're no longer continent. So they're not able to control the bladder, for example. These people are then referred to as incontinent, and hence, you see that thing you're calling pampers, diapers? Please eliminate those words from your vocabulary. Get rid of them. Please do not use those terms. It's a really, really big no-no. I know you don't mean to be disrespectful. It's not a term that you're used to. It's not one that you don't use these words daily. But diapers and what's the other one? The other word I said. We don't use that for the adults here. It's an incontinence pad. So please refer to it as such. And then when it comes to things like respect and all that and appropriate, remember it's a professional workplace. So things like your personal belief, please can you keep that at home? Your religion, what you like, how you like it. Keep that for when you get home. All right, so it's not a church. It's not time to convert souls for Christ. I do understand. We're passionate about religion, but it's a workplace. Many people have lost their jobs because they came with their Bible hoping to convert a soul. All right? Stick to being professional and do your job. People with religion, persons with no belief, everyone, those that believe in, I don't know. And you shouldn't know either because it doesn't concern you. You see what I mean? So respectful and just respect people's individual preferences. That's the kind of person, that's the role we're talking about, and that's the kind of person we're looking for. Okay, so when you're referring to people as well, respectful language, appropriate language, you will be saying things like persons living with a disability. You will not use the disability to describe the person or identify the person. The person comes first. Remember my other video? The person comes first and then the disability. So persons living with dementia, persons living with, that's how we do it. And so with the role, as I was saying, you have different settings. So I've just mentioned, the hospitals, in the community, care homes, in people's own homes. There are clinical settings, there are specialty settings as well. So just remember that each one has its own demands and its own expectations, and you will be trained towards that. So if you're working in outpatients and it's radiology clinic, it's diabetes clinic, you'll be trained in that. So I cannot go through all the settings that are found in healthcare. That's not really possible for this video. But my point is you'll be trained to that specific setting. But these are I'm telling you about the job in general, what it entails. Okay. The next thing I want to tell you about is your working pattern. So shift patterns, as we call them, you work in shifts. In the healthcare, you hear that a lot. You either be doing the full-time hours, so your contract type might be full-time hours. It should be actually with this visa type that we're talking about. So the Health and Care Worker Visa 2022. So ideally, you're looking at 37.5 hours, especially if you're working in the NHS. And if it's other settings, you might be offered 42 hours as full-time hours. Obviously, you're paid hourly, or at least it's prorated, and you get what you work for. You will be paid. We don't owe salaries here. So if you're working 42 hours, you know that's what the full-time hours are. So you're either doing your full-time or your part-time for some people, or you're doing the temporary work, which is as at when. Okay, when they need you, they let you know, you pick up what they call bank shifts, temporary workers, zero contracts and all that. There's things like that. But I would say focus on the full-time employment and permanent roles, because that's when we guarantee your salary, your annual salary. And of course, remember, I always remind you, £20,480 annual salary. Very important. Don't forget this, please. So as much as possible, let's focus on the permanent, full-time permanent roles. And in that, like I said, I've talked about the working week, but then also you need to understand the shift pattern. So we call them, usually, this is just a general guide because they might be different in your own setting. But most of the places, especially the NHS and some of the care homes, you're talking about working long days. Now, long days here are usually 12 and a half hours long. Yeah. 12 and a half hours long, all right? So you're looking at 8 to 8:30 in the morning, 7 to 7:30. So we say 12 hours, 8 to 8. So let's say 8 to 8, for example. 8 to 8 will be a long day. And usually in that you will have your breaks. Breaks are usually not paid in the NHS, well, they're not paid in the NHS, and they're usually not paid in other care homes and other settings. I don't know. In private care homes or private settings, they might have different things for you. So you check what the vacancy says, check with them on what they're offering you, so that will be specific to you. But in general, I repeat myself, it's 12 and a half hours long day, and half day will be around, usually half days are rare, but half days could be as much as 8 hours, 6.5 hours, 7.5 hours, it depends. So that would you discuss, and they tend to do that, especially if they're trying to fill gaps. So your ward sister, as I say always, ward manager, I shouldn't say ward sister. The ward manager will come to you and say, oh, can you do just half day? We really need someone from 8 to 2. That's a very common shift pattern, 8 to 2. So in the long day hours, the 12 and a half, you usually would get a 1 hour break. The 1 hour break is not paid for. All right, so you're paid 11.5 hours that day when you work. Do you understand this? So 12 and a half hours, long day. The 1 hour break, which I think used to be protected by law. I don't know if it still is, since Britain's left, United Kingdom's left the EU. I don't know, I can't say. But anyway, usually I don't think anyone would deny you that. There are pressures of the job. So the term flexible, flexible, have that conversation, because a really important thing is that I would argue, as a senior nurse, I would argue that any ward sister, I said sister again, I beg your pardon, is the terms from back in the days. Any ward manager and all that, worth their salt, should make sure that their staff gets their break. All right, as much as possible. So I'm not going to go into that, but it's something I feel as a human being, 12 and a half hours, you should have a break. So 1 hour, not paid, you have your break. And sometimes in settings, they will break it into half. So you take the first 30 minutes for, I don't know, your lunch, and then the next 30 minutes for your evening break. So, and some will do concessionary 15 minutes tea break. We like our tea here. So you might just say, all right, take 15 minutes break, just make yourself a cup of tea, and then please come back on time and continue. So you might, for example, someone will use that for their breakfast, so you come in straight away after maybe an hour or two of the first round, the ward round or whatever, you go for a quick break, you have a cup of tea and your sandwich, and you come back, and then around noon, from noon, 1, 2 o'clock, you start talking about who's going first, who are those for the first break, please can you go, so that when you come back, the next can go, so that there's always somebody covering the setting. There are people attending to patients and the family. So don't forget, family also, they will visit care homes, they will visit hospitals, the communication, because that's a really key thing, and maybe I didn't mention when I was talking about the person specification. You'll be communicating with all these people, you'll be able to, talk to everyone. It's not just people you're working with, not just the patient, but their family members, the other members of the wider multidisciplinary team, the doctors, the radiologists, the consultants, the housekeepers, everyone. You should be that sort of person. You've got passion for the job. You've got passion for this vocation. And you can communicate very well. There's confidence. There's confidence. You're able to do these things. You're able to manage all this. So I said long days, half days, and then you hear terms like earlies and lates. So earlies will usually be, so it all varies, but earlies will usually be, once again, is that 7 to 2, 7 to 1, 8 to 2, thereabouts. Some might even go more. You will have that discussion with them, and then late will be the rest of the day. So you might have a 12 to 8 as, well, not usually, but 2 to 8 will be late. You have twilight. I've seen places where they have twilight from 5 o'clock to maybe midnight. And then that brings me to night shifts. There are night shifts, and you'll be rotated. You will work the rota. You could be rotated to do your night shifts. So night shifts will start from 8 p.m. If you imagine that the other one is 8 to 8 p.m., yours will then be 8 p.m. to the morning, 8 a.m. And there will be handovers. So don't let me forget about handovers, really important. To a large extent, it's the clinical, the registered clinical members of the team that will be doing that, so the nurses and all. But you as a HCA healthcare assistant, as a care worker, for your nurse, you have to pass across. You need to be observant. You need to be able to pass across information to your nurses, because you're all working for the patient. You're working hand in hand. So if you've noticed something, there'll be things you assist with, like when it comes to fluid, taking fluid, you'll be filling in how much the patient's had. You've been asked to a fluid watch. You have to check and put when they had the water, how much they had, what drink, soup, things like that. And you calculate, and then you say how much. You check the what we call, so there's a catheter, okay, and then you have the bag where the urine collects, and then you check that, or have they actually I won't go into that. Let's leave that one. I'm going to be too technical. Anyway, you calculate that, and then you let the nurse say, well, actually, the balance, the fluid balance shows that there's something. Well, they can also interpret it, but you pass information to them. Medication that the patient had, the patient, did that, and the nurse, that's good practice, the nurse should wait for them to take it. The nurse has left the room, and the patient goes, no, thank you. And then you come in as a healthcare assistant, you come in to come and help with personal care, getting them ready for the day, dressing and all that. And then you see that medication is really important as well on the table. You have that conversation with them, they don't want it. Of course, you're not going to keep that to yourself and pick up the medication, put it in the bin. You're going to let the nurse know that, oh, this is what I've observed. What does that mean for the patient? The nurse has the responsibility to now act on that information. So there's a lot of communication going on. You're thinking on your feet. You're thinking, if you don't know anything, you ask, and you work within your capacity. All right? Don't go beyond what you're asked to do. Don't go and take any injection and trick anybody. I'm begging you, please, because of God. Please, I'm begging you. All right? You're not allowed to do certain things. So work within that ambit, your legal ambit of what you're allowed to do. So that is actually what that role is about. You're assisting the patient. You're assisting your clinical team. Yeah? And you're facing the patient as an individual. Usually, with that shift pattern, you'll be paid enhanced hours. Not always, but weekend work tends to attract more pay. Night shifts tend to attract more pay. Usually. In some care homes, it's the same. They give a going rate. It might just be a really good rate, and whatever is just your shift pattern. Whereas in some places, especially in the hospitals, your weekend shifts will be paid a bit more. Okay, sometimes it's 0.5, 1.5, whatever it might be. And then also holidays, bank holidays is what we call them here. We do bank shifts. So there's a nurse bank, the temporary office. So the recruitment people, there's a department for covering shifts. So shifts that they've not been able to get staff for, they put them out to staff, they put them out to agency outside of the hospital. They try and get people to come and fill in the shifts, workers to fill in the shifts, clinical staff. And these people, usually anywhere you're working, you can sign on to your temporary staffing service there in that setting, which is the nurses bank or the bank office. And they'll give you an app or whatever it is, and then you can see sometimes on your days off, if you feel like it, you can pick up a shift here and there, do an extra day. You can say, oh, Sunday, oh, don't mind if I do. You pick that one on a Sunday, a night shift, whatever it is, and then it's usually paid or it has paid. So these are just the things to guide you, to tell you what the work is like. There's a shift pattern. Some of you have never done shift work before, or what you know is just, what you know is normal full-time work. You come office hours 9 to 5, but this is a different one. So if you're new to care work, if you're new to this is the sort of thing, shift pattern work. And of course, with holidays, most holidays are paid for. Sick leave, It's paid for. And I should say something about sick leave, please. Good character, honesty and candor. Honesty, candor is another thing when it comes to person specification. You have to be that person. You have to be honest. Now, you see that thing with sick leave? Some people there's this temptation to make a bit more money. Resist. Okay? You see your sick leave, it's paid for. So you're supposed to be at home getting better. Even if you go out to go shopping, no one is saying you're locked in. You're going to go get some fresh air. You're going to go get some food. You're out with family. Sick leave. If it's approved and you're on sick leave, you're on sick leave. It's not a holiday. It's not time for you to go and pick up a shift with your agency. You're the one you're registered and you're not going to work. People have lost their jobs. For those that are registered, so the care workers are not, they don't have a PIN, like the nurses. They have a PIN, NMC, disciplinary committee. They bring you up in front of them. You're not finisher. So there are things like that. Don't do it. Do not do it. Ever do it. Do not, please. So I just wanted to say that because there are little things. I might not remember everything, but there's some things I talked about, the language and the way you speak. In certain terms, don't use them. To a large extent, quite a few of you, when you're describing an individual by their race, please be really careful. I do understand this is not a society you've lived in, but there's certain things that be considered quite inappropriate. And some go as far as having criminal implications. So please be careful, talking about people's race and describing their color, describing them by their color, or describing them by their hair type and things like that, and their religion or their sexuality. Excuse me, please. Describing people by their sexuality. You know what I mean? None of your business. Mind your business. It doesn't matter what people do in their homes. Mind your business. You see the person first and know whatever else they have going on. Doesn't concern you. A work environment, professional, keep it clean. Work environment. I know you understand. Then lastly, I want to talk to you about your ongoing professional development. So in the role, it's really important, your professional development. So care worker, healthcare assistant, senior healthcare assistant. Yes, you might not be a nurse, you're not renewing your PIN, you're not doing your every 3 years and all that. But for all of us, we have to do statutory training, core training, mandatory training. We call different things. So knowledge and skills, you have to continually renew it. You have to be willing to learn. We don't stop learning in the job, okay? We keep learning, we keep developing yourself. So we keep developing ourselves and you keep developing yourself. So you have, there are quite a few of them, from your information governance, which is an annual one, to some that are every 2 years, safeguarding adults, dementia awareness, so many things. I won't list them more, but they're all there. They're similar. It's quite similar to the care certificate. I will talk to you, I think maybe in the next episode, we'll talk about the care certificate. All right. And why I'm saying to some of you, try and get that to augment, boost your chances. We'll talk about that. But anyway, this core mandatory, you have to, usually if you're in a hospital, in fact, most of the settings, it's paid training. They renew it for you. They'll let you know the educational departments in your nurse educator, whatever is in charge of that. They will let you know, send you an email. This one is due, renew it, book your training, go on this portal, book your training, let your manager, email your manager as well, tell your manager that's your responsibility, make sure that your member of staff has done their core mandatory training. Then you book the shift it's like a shift as well. You book it with your manager, so that will be your training day. They will use a training day or study day, that's what we call study leave, study day, and that's paid for anyway. It's part of your job, and you renew that. So these are things to look out for your ongoing professional development. Really important. So this is an overview, and we're having a nice chat. I hope you're drinking your Zobo and you're happy. And I'm just telling you what the job entails, so you know what to expect. Because some of you have said to me, really keen on doing this, looked into it a little bit, and I thought, well, I really want to do, but I'm not sure. Can you just tell me a bit more about it? So this is me telling you a bit more about it. Okay, it's a really rewarding role. If you've got that compassion, you've got that empathy, you can feel for others, you will enjoy the job. But then as well, you have to watch out for your mental health as well. Because some of us, we put in our blood into it. Some of us go a little bit more, the extra mile, and you have to manage your emotions. Yeah, but because we're humans, no one is a robot. You've got some help, you've got a lot of help actually at work. Usually there's someone to talk to, from your mentors, your managers, the supervisors, to the chaplain. Usually we have chaplains. So depending on your religion or whatever, there'll be a chaplain for you there, an imam or whoever, if you want to talk to them. Bereavement. So another really important part of this job is the trainings that we give you when it comes to bereavement. When I say bereavement, not just what's happening in your own personal life, but also when it comes to the care of the dying individual. All right. So for some of you, you've never seen anything like that. Some of you have never actually, you don't know of anyone in your life that's ever, and you've never lost anyone. Anyone has passed away. But you have to understand that when people are at the end of life care, it's really important, that dignity and choice. Oh my God, that's when it's really critical. So what are the person's wishes? They do not resuscitate order is in place or not. That is usually for the clinical team to decide. But you are also coming into that person's space as they're leaving this world. I don't want to go a bit morbid, but my point is you need to respect their wishes. You check if there are things that have been written down, their wishes have been written down prior to them getting to that stage where they can no longer speak for themselves or decide. You need to understand that this is what you do. You keep the place tidy, quiet. If they need a light dimmed, no noise, please. No noise. They want certain people to come in, certain times, so the families, the friends. You care for them. I still remember my first ever patient. It was a service user actually, because I was into domiciliary care, going to people's homes. And when someone is on their way out, you've cared for them for a long time, it takes a lot from you. I will never forget. The person's name stays with me till thy kingdom come. And well, just because. So sometimes it takes something from you as well. You give a little, as they say, you give a little of yourself. So you need to work on this. Yeah, make sure you have your support system, especially for those of you like us that will be coming in not knowing anybody, not coming with anybody, to a large extent, your family and friends. If you're somebody of faith, your church group, people there, just keep a balanced life. You need it. Take your breaks. Don't do all the hours that God brings to this earth. Take your breaks. Give yourself a holiday. Treat yourself. There's a cinema. There are nice things in this country, and they work. The light doesn't go off. So watch your television, watch your programs, go watch your football game, make yourself happy. Take care of this. Work-life balance, very important in healthcare. Work-life balance, health and social care, very important, okay? Because sometimes work can be quite challenging. And there are many times, even as when we're training, oh God, as a student nurse, Lord have mercy. Many times when one has had to go into the restroom, shut the door, and just have a good cry. Hopefully that won't be you. But my point is, just understand that the job is not a walk in the park, but it can be very rewarding. I do love going around seeing my patients. I do love when I'm done doing my duty, having a chat. Someone will say, have a cup of tea with me. And I'm doing my notes. Yeah, well, and then I'll do my notes next to their bed, just so they can see me, have a chat. When I'm finishing, I'm on my way off the ward. I've gone and changed my scrubs. I pass by and I say, I'll see you tomorrow, yeah. Especially my favorites. All my patients are my favorites. I don't have favorites. Everyone's my favorite. So it's very rewarding, okay? I hope you've enjoyed this one. Share the video, but please remember, disclaimer, it's not a training video. Don't go and tell any employer that you've had training by Rita. They will pursue you from that. Just be careful. It's not a training. We're having a nice chat. I'm telling you about the job. Good luck, and I'll see you.